YouTube Live. I'm your host, Doug Robbins, and I want to talk about the Halloween franchise. Why? Anybody that watches Gary Vee might remember him saying, don't be afraid to monetize your passion. He's like, if you like old Hasbro wrestlers, if you like old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you like Hot Wheels, turn that into a passion. You know what I mean? Like, if you're comfortable on camera, maybe make a YouTube video, podcast, talk all about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or whatever your passion is. One of my passions is the Halloween franchise. You know how much you love a slasher movie and a series of movies when you're watching a dumbass tribute of from the first one and Halloween 2018 set to Nights in White Satin, and you're getting emotional. Like, it's like, because it sounds stupid, it sounds insane, but it's like you're so in love with the series because, again, even when I was a kid, I was 2 years old when I saw the original Child's Play from 1998 or 1988, excuse me. And between 2 and 10, I'm pretty sure I had already seen. I can't really remember the order, but of my first three movies, like what I saw all the way through, Child's Play, I saw the first one, I saw the second one, and I saw the third one, and then after I saw the third one, I saw the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6, and then I saw Halloween H2O. And I gotta say, I fell in love with the character of Michael Myers with Halloween right then. And it was at that time, favorite scary movie, Halloween. Yes, Jesus does love me. Now, when it comes to the Halloween franchise, one thing I gotta say is if you are watching this, don't be afraid to follow your passion. And again, talk about your passion. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Because as a kid, I just felt like, I don't know. I'm sure we all have moments in our life that you can just kind of feel an invisible resentment of your passions or your likes from either a parent, a friend, somebody. And I don't know what, because they never really, would really say anything out loud. except on, one Christmas Eve, I was like 16. And he said, it's Christmas Eve, for God's sakes, you know, quit watching horror, basically. And because I remember I was watching Halloween 4, and it was one of those that to me, it sounds silly, but it gets you curious. It's like, okay, why does this seem to bother this person? Like, I don't know what's wrong with it. All I can think of is when you're a big horror fan, um, like again, I used to work in a school, and parents will get freaked out when their kids are too into horror. And again, it's such. It makes sense that so many kids start off with horror because it's such an imaginative, creative medium. Um, because there's just so much fun stuff you can do inside the horror genre. Like again, one thing a lot of kids like, uh, monsters, slasher movies, and especially kids that I feel like get in trouble a lot and feel like they don't have the control over their lives that they wish they did. Um, like I said, I used to work at a school, and I can think of a couple of kids, and I'm not going to give away any names, but horror is definitely one of those cathartic, uh, genres. Really, because it's just there's so much toxicity in the world, a lot of stresses and a lot of pressures, and I cannot remember where I heard it, but it's really well said. Um, but basically, the idea is, well, I lost my train of thought, but anyway, I'm just going to move on since I forgot what I was going to say. When it, like I said, when I first saw the Halloween series, I started with 7. I don't remember, but I went and I saw the rest of them. And the last one I saw when there were only 7 movies was the third one. And that one does not do it for me. Will never do it for me. Like, I've tried a couple times, and I've watched them all the way through. Um, And again, like I said, if that was the last one, maybe 10 to 11 years old when I first saw Halloween 3. Um, that was probably the last time I watched it all the way through. And within the last couple months, I watched it again because I'm like, okay, you ain't seen it since you're like 11 years old. Leprechaun, yeah, that was a fun one. I definitely prefer one over the rest of them. Uh, just like Puppet Master. But what's funny is Six Shooter never showed up until the third one, I believe. But I remember back in the day, I believe it was the second one, maybe. But whichever Puppet Master that Andre Toulon promised them, the puppets, they would get that energy juice that would make them live. And he wasted it on himself, bringing himself into the big puppet, and the lady that he wanted to make his bride. And I remember I used to have this big old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle from Part 3. And I remember using a couple other action figures, pretending they were Blade and Pinhead. But I think Torch like sets him on fire. But I remember at the end of that one, them being mad at Andre Toulon. So then they turned on him. And I remember reenacting that final scene with my action figures back in the day. But yeah, favorite Halloween movie, definitely Halloween. Or favorite horror movie. Um, but again, paranormal movies, for my money, The Exorcist, Conjuring 1 and 2, and The Omen would have to be my favorite as far as paranormal. So, because again, like my dad says, no greater villain than the devil. Or what's scarier than that? And it's like, that's true. Yeah, because that's what happens when you. That's probably why I became a writer. Just because I have that imagination. Which I've written everything from horror to stuff for kids, from science fiction, fantasy. Even have written some Christmas stories and scripts. Um, I remember my dad said that's the only book he had to like put down was Pet Cemetery. And I can understand that because again, I've never read Pet Cemetery, but I've seen the movie and I haven't gotten all the way through it yet. But the idea behind Pet Cemetery is so creepy. Like it's so under the skin. That's hard to read. Just like the guy losing his brother. in such a graphic way, because Stephen King is not a timid writer. Like you will get the details, and like he's so good at setting up the regular world and giving us some like terrible people before the actual horror gets there, that it's like, yeah, this he writes such intense stuff that even non-horror fans probably can tell you at least one Stephen King book they've read, which is impressive and is definitely a testament to that man and his writing. So thank you all for showing up, and have yourselves a lovely day. Yeah, I have a movie called All the Lonely Boys I wrote. It's up on YouTube now. I've got another movie in pre-production um, called Working Man. It's going to be a short. And if you go to Amazon.com, I've got stuff like I'm in the six Demonic Visions anthology books. My favorite being the first one, In the London Fog. I have a little short 7-page ebook, How to Write a Killer Slasher Movie Villain. And this is all published under the name either Doug Robbins and DJ Robbins. And I've got stuff, A Heck of a Hex was a cutesy ebook. Written Halloween Magic, written Murders in Crescent Valley, Bizarre Life of Edgar Strange. Those are all self-published. If you go to vocal.media, you'll see some of my writings there. So thank you all for tuning in. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum.